Hi everyone, I'm Gavin Termini, product specialist with Exactal. Today's video we'll be going through having a look at backing up and restoring your CostX data. Firstly, we'll just have a look at CostX and what's happening lately. So these days, connecting your drawings to CostX, you can go directly from your cloud if you haven't noticed. There's the examples there from S3, Box, Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive for Business. Have a look at Benchmark shortly too. But here are all the drawing files and compatibility that you can have with using CostX. That's a new drawing file that we've now added to our extensions. And from here, the dimension view, as always, connects seamlessly to our costing and estimating side of CostX. From there into our database tables like the rate libraries, and then from here to and fro from different connectors here. And the new one here for us is the CSV and Excel direct import export. And over here, the normal exports that we can do from our reports. And of course then there is the to and fro export import from our new CostX benchmark. So with that increased versatility, our CostX benchmark has the ability, then you can see you have another view of it, connecting from our CostX estimating software into the benchmarking software, running through its systems, and then back into CostX. And then of course there are other outputs to reports as well. And of course the other advantage with CostX is our commitment to support research and development. So backing up and restoring CostX data. Important part of managing your digital data, including CostX, is backing up your files and database. Today's webinar isn't obviously about the general housekeeping of the rest of your computer system, but more specifically, I'll be taking you through managing your CostX database. There are a few methods to back up and manage your CostX database, but in this webinar, I'll concentrate on the built-in backups and tools that we have within CostX. So we'll start with the CostX server database. It's the easier one. It's actually got an automated system built in. And so if I go to the CostX server admin app, so I'm going to try and bring that one up, which is, where are you? Here we are. CostX server app. So once you start that one up, I'm just going to log in. And we're going to go to the database maintenance tab here on the CostX server admin. Down on the right here are the tools to manage it. The properties is where it's set up to organize the automated backup side of it. By default, 3 a.m. in the morning. That way it's not running when everyone else is on the database, because it takes a bit of a performance hit if it's backing up while other people are working on it. The other people working on it will find it a lot slower, unless you've got a really powerful server, of course. If you need to do more than one backup a day, so this one's just once a day at night, well then yes, we've got some script to manage that, and I'll just take a look at that shortly, but we'll also have a look at how many backups you can retain. By default, it starts off with about 14, but here, obviously you can see here you can toggle between 1 to a whole year. And then of course then there's the path. So currently I've got the path adjusted here to go to my OneDrive, so therefore my backups are also getting backed up to my OneDrive. Okay, and this backup and restore buttons are of the entire database. And so that backup button there is to just run a manual backup now. And so it's now just going to run through that database. Hopefully my database is fairly small and I'll run a backup to that location. Then with the restore option there, well, that's an emergency restore option. So that'll actually restore the entire database from yesterday. So it's like a disaster recovery restore. We have another option we'll be looking at shortly called the RecoverX, where it gives us the option to just choose bits and pieces out of the database to restore. And looks like it's just about there. And done. And yeah, then when it's the restore option, I select it. Gives you a bit of a warning here because the current database will be overwritten, so therefore, yeah, it's going to log everyone out. And so any work they've currently been working on is going to be deleted anyway. So yeah, pretty much only disaster recovery would you be running this. You go yes, select the database. So I've now got to go and find it, and I've only got two here. I've got one that I just did and one that I did yesterday. All right, closing out of that. And now moving on to the standalone database. So the standalone database is a little bit more manual. I'm going to take a look at that. So now bring up my standalone database. To get to that, it doesn't have a system admin app like the server database. I have to go to options, database, and there's these buttons here. We see we don't have any properties button there to create automated backups. So you miss out on automated backups with the standalone database. But if you contact our support, we do have some lines there, some script there that you can actually run, and I think I have got that on my PowerPoint here. So if I select back to my PowerPoint, yes, and here it is here. So it'd be something similar to that our IT will send you, and it's just a text file that you type in and the address, and once you start working out what it all stands for as far as where it is, what date, and so on, and obviously IT will help you with that. And the main reason behind writing that little task or that little script is then this task will, from the Windows task scheduler, will run it. And so the process there's, if I go back to it, you save it as a BAT file. If anyone's played with the old text files before, that's a extension you run there. And then Windows task will be able to run it. And then you can set it up to run how many times you'd like, and so on. So back to restoring. So back into my options here. But again, I can run a backup now and run it now from here on the standalone. So that's the manual way you can do it. So you can just make a habit of it. At the end of each day, you can hit that button and you'll run a backup. I've also changed the location of that so that it goes to my OneDrive. So I created a folder called my standalone database to back up my file, and you can see it's saved it here by date and the time that I saved it. That is a bit trickier. So in this, again, it's all a little bit more hands-on. adjustments that you have to do with the standalone if you want all this type of automated backup systems within the standalone, where in the server version I was able to just type the address in and it added it to that. With the standalone version, I had to go to the registry and type it in there. There's a little location there in the registry, and you just type it in there because it's plain and simple. When you open up the Exactal folder, you'll see a little runtime there called backup, and it'll have the address after it. Okay, so once we've done that, then of course you've got the option to restore a database. So it'll be the same deal. Gives you a bit of a warning. Go through to do you wish to continue, and then you go through to point to where it is. So this has gone to an old file that I had previously where my old server was backing up. But so if I went to my OneDrive backups here, you can see here's my standalone, and here's my server backups that I've now changed to. And I cancel out of that. Okay, so the next step is, I'll get back to the PowerPoint, is running RecoverX. That's the nice simple little tool that actually grabs pieces of data instead of the whole database. Where previously I just showed you that's a disaster recovery. It rewrites the entire database to whatever database you're recovering to. Okay, to find and open RecoverX, you can get into the program data files of CostX. So if I've got this folder open here already, where I had this file open. So this file is down in our document folder down within the CostX server. You can see going back through the steps here. So it's C drive program files. So that document there, that's part of a range of all the documents that get installed by CostX when CostX is installed. So there's the document there, cover page. Everything's hyperlinked. Table of contents, stepping you through all the different advanced features that our backup and recovery has. But back to finding out that RecoverX tool that I'm talking about. So within this file here, to access this, by the way, like I said, instead of having to double click down through C drive and then find program files and so on, in the Windows All Programs, so scrolling down to the E section in your All Programs, after clicking that Windows logo, expanding it, see there's the shortcuts to open client or standalone. There's CostX server admin. There's shortcut to samples, but there's also this one to more. Sometimes it says documents, depending on the type of install you've had. So when you select that, it takes you to this folder directly. And then you can access all your documents. I'm going to just go back up a step to CostX server. And in CostX server, you might see there's this other little folder there. So there's the documents that we were just in. Utilities. Double click on that. That's where RecoverX is. Now we can double click on that. Go find the database we want to open up, and so see it's gone back to my OneDrive there where I've been backing up my CostX server. I'm going to select it, the one I want. It's yesterday's, here's this morning's. Open it, and I'll start mounting this entire database into this display here, which will give us access to all the different database tables within the CostX database, and therefore also gave us access to exporting out just one particular file and not the entire database. So this one is to recover just a single file from the database without having to rewrite the entire database like the examples that we've just gone through. So it's stepping up there, quite a lot to load there. You can imagine with all the rate files, code libraries, model maps, obviously the projects with all the different buildings, with all the different workbooks. But almost there. And then it should pop up with a display shortly. And when it's finally loaded, you can see here there's my code libraries, constants, values, model maps, projects, and so on. To be expanding one of them. So let's see, if I select model maps, so that gives me the option to export the entire model map set. Or I could just select a file out of the model map. Select export. Comes up asking you where you want to save it to. And so that's what this is all about. It's just about exporting a single file which I can then import back into my current database without having to rewrite the entire database. And yeah, so if the file's already in there at its current name, I'll actually have to rename it. So it's actually coming in as called recovered anyway. Or I can name it to whatever I want to do. So that's the process of using RecoverX. Okay, there is one more application that was down in utilities here for capturing an entire database, and that application is our DB transfer wizard. So it's not so much of as a backup or recovery tool, but it's actually just to package the whole database up to transfer across to typically another computer. And so that's the tool you'll use. The recovery tools and the RecoverX tools aren't built for that. Use this tool here. Also contact our IT support because they have also a few other documents to help you run through that process, and particularly transferring the licenses that may be in that database across. So and that is now wrapping up our webinar today. I'll just have a look. Yes, so we can now close our webinar today, and thank you for listening.